Joyce, if you do the roll call, please, and then indicate whether they're in person or virtual, please.
Dave Talley,
Here.
Tammy McDonald, Alyssa Davon,
Here.
Michael Dixon, Mark Bymaster, Kathy Weigel,
Here.
Leandre Camel. Okay, we only have 3. Miss Devon is in person. Miss Weigel is virtual.
Mark is in person also?
Mark did not answer. I don't think he's here yet.
Oh. Well, I don't think we have enough.
We don't have a quorum yet.
Yeah. Well, let's hold off for a minute then. So we've got Kathy and Alyssa and myself. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mark Bymaster is here.
Virtual?
He's virtual.
Okay. We have 1, 2, 3.
We have 4.
So that's a quorum then, right?
Yes.
Well, I say we're going to go ahead and get started then. Good morning. Thank you all for joining us. Joyce, do the roll call one more time, just so we're current on this.
Sure.
I'm
Dave
here.
Charlie.
Yeah.
Okay. Tammy McDonald. Hold on a second. Alyssa Devon.
Here.
Michael Dixon. Mark Bymaster. Okay. He's not answering. He's
Is he here?
He's there, but I don't think we can hear him.
Okay.
Okay. Kathy Weigel.
Here.
Leandre Camel.
Here.
Okay. Everyone is virtual except for Miss Devon.
Okay. And those that are missing are Michael Dixon and Tammy McDonald. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and get started again. Thank you all for joining us. This is going to be hopefully a fairly brief meeting. And let me just suggest, since the majority of you are virtual, when we make a motion in a second, please state your name just for the records. Okay, with that, I'll entertain approval of the agenda. Terry, are there any additions?
No additions or deletions.
Okay, well, I'll ask for approval then of the agenda.
Weigel, approve, so move.
Leandre, second.
Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Passed unanimously. Okay, second, take a minute and you can review the October 15th minutes. And after you've had a chance to review those, I will accept approval of the minutes.
Leandre offers a motion to approve the minutes.
Weigel, second.
Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Passed unanimously. I'm going to back up for a minute. I never did the introductions and I can't see real well the table in the meeting room, but let's start there and then everyone else can introduce themselves. So maybe we'll start with, I don't know, Terry.
Sure. Teresa Michael, Inspector General.
Carrie High, Counsel for Inspector General.
Alyssa Dobbin with the Audit Committee.
Blair Littlejohn from the General Counsel's Office.
Heather Frederick, Chief Financial Officer.
Joyce Edison, Executive Assistant.
Randy Lowe from the IG's office.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, my puppies don't know they're not supposed to
All
talk.
right. Okay, let's go to the virtual and just do that one at a time so we all know who's there.
Kathy Weigel.
Nancy Samuels, Accounting Director.
James Campbell, Seminole Ridge High School.
Bob Bliss, Office of Inspector General.
Karen Davis,
Leandre.
Accounting Department.
DeAndre Campbell.
Annette Pinnock, Accounting Department.
Leanne Evans, Treasury Department.
Chantel Knowles, RSM Audit Manager.
Gene Borno with RSM.
Brett Friedman with RSM.
Okay, I guess that covers it. Before we continue, I just want to congratulate Frank Barbieri, who's been reelected as chairman of the school board. I don't know whether Frank's with us this morning, but I send my either congratulations or condolences, whichever is appropriate. But sincerely, congratulations. That's a big job. Okay, we'll go on. Are there any public comments?
No public comments.
Okay, we'll go on then to the presentation, and I'll just preface things by saying, as traditionally is done, the board, myself as chairman, has touched base with Brett and Chantel and gone over the presentation and just asked if there were any problems or that type of thing, and they said absolutely not. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brett and Chantel to do their presentation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, committee members and school board members. It's our pleasure to be here. Again, Brett Friedman, audit partner with RSM. I have with me Chantel Knowles, who's the senior manager, and also we have Gene Borno, who's the guy out there day-to-day running the audit. So he's joining and attending to experience the audit committee. Joyce, if you move forward to slide 1, audit services performed. I'll just briefly go over the nature of services that we performed. Just got to go forward a couple of slides. One more. All right. Just to summarize again, we performed an audit of the financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2021, in accordance with both auditing standards generally accepted in the U.S. and also government auditing standards. We also performed a single audit in accordance with the Federal Single Audit Act and Title II U.S. Code of Federal Regulations, otherwise known as Uniform Guidance. Also, we performed an examination of the district's compliance with Section 218.415 Florida statutes, which governs the investment of public funds. Joyce, if we can go to the next page. Just to provide a summary, we provide this in advance. Just want to let you know, we have substantially completed all the audit field work. We just have a few little, I's to dot and T's to cross, just clearing comments, which we'll wrap up probably today. But we are prepared at this point to issue our opinions, which are unmodified opinions with regard to whether or not the financial statements are fairly stated. As the chairman shared, we did not encounter any matters or issues that we believe would cause a modification to our opinion on the fair presentation. Also, we are prepared to issue our opinion with regard to government auditing standards, which is with regard to internal controls over financial reporting. Again, nothing of significance to report there. That report's expected to be unmodified. Last part to point out, and the reason you won't see it here, we've substantially completed the work with regard to the federal single audit. However, the federal single audit, as a lot of you are aware, involves a lot of the CARES Act and ESSER funding and other, stabilization dollars that the guidance is still coming out from the federal government. So the Government Audit Quality Center has advised all audit firms to hold off on issuing single audits until that guidance comes out, because what happens is the federal agencies will dictate what they want the auditors to test. And so we've kind of gone with some preliminary guidance, but there's no final guidance yet. So to avoid having to basically redo the audit twice, they've advised wait until the guidance gets released from the federal government, and then we'll be able to finalize. We've done everything we can at this point as far as testing. We've run into no issues. I want to say, I think it was either 6 or 8 programs that we looked at. But again, that report will come later after we get that final guidance to make sure The major program there is the Education Stabilization Fund, otherwise known as the ESSER funds. And again, that guidance has not been provided to the public yet. And so there's nothing we can do to test in accordance with that. But so that will come later. Ordinarily, every time we present, we'd only present everything, including single audit. But again, due to this limitation, we couldn't. So Joyce, if we can go to the next page. Just to provide a little synopsis, again, our audit was done in accordance with GAS and generally accepted government auditing standards. Also, it was done in accordance with our arrangement letter, which was dated July 14th, 2021. That letter was shared at a previous committee meeting. To the next page, Joyce. One of the things we highlight, we went over the scope and timing. Just want to point out this was done mostly virtual, the audit. I want to thank the accounting department. They provided outstanding support. Between Heather, Nancy, and the team, they do an exceptional job, and we greatly appreciate their responsiveness. They're super responsive. I'm sure they are with the committee as well, but super responsive to us, getting us what we need. So the timing, everything is in line except for the federal government, of course. Going over highlights as far as accounting policies and practices, there was one major new GASB that came in this year, and that's GASB standard number 84, which dealt with redefining fiduciary activities. So you will see in the financial statements, there is basically a new statement presented, which changes how the agency funds used to be presented. In the past, agency funds were just the balance sheet, assets, and liabilities. Now you'll actually see an income statement in the basic financials, which shows you all the inflows and outflows. For the school district, what's in that primarily, which is now called custodial funds, is your internal accounts out at the schools. That's primarily what goes through there, but the GASB statement changed how that gets characterized. So also as part of that, there was a restatement which reclassified what was previously referred to as liabilities into what's now known as net position in those custodial funds. Just the important thing, district staff did not do anything wrong. They did properly adopt the standard. No issues or concerns, but just want you to be aware, because you look at this year's financials versus prior year, you're going to notice a difference. Say, hey, what's going on here? And also you'll see reference in our opinion to the fact that there was a restatement. Ordinarily, when you see restatement, that's a bad thing. But in this case, it's just adoption of a new standard. But audit standards say, hey, anytime you're changing fund balance, we need to identify and modify our opinion to clearly indicate that. Going on, we did not identify any unusual or significant transactions that lacked authoritative guidance. I'll just briefly touch on accounting estimates. We always try to point that out to you, because a lot of what happens with the district is either cash coming in or cash going out. But the estimates are really where there's the chance to have the most impact and management override. So we pay special attention to those estimates. There were no audit adjustments as part of the audit. That should give you comfort to understand that the information that you get throughout the year from finance is information you can rely on, because Gene and Chantel and the team, they look at a ton of transactions, they look at a lot of things, and we had no audit adjustments. There were some uncorrected misstatements. Most of those were items that the district staff themselves found, items that they found after closing the year end, but items that were not material and didn't need to be recorded back. And we had no concerns with any of those, but those will be reported in the management representation letter, which will be attached to the final communication to the audit committee. Going to the next page, as I emphasized, no departures from the report, except for the fact you're going to see that emphasis on matter paragraph, which is going to call out the fact that there was a restatement of the beginning net position due to the adoption of GASB 84. To the next page, Joyce. Again, as the chair had said at the beginning, we had no disagreements with management. We're not aware of any consultations that occurred. No significant issues or difficulties in performing the audit. On the next page, as we said, the key thing we like to highlight for the committee and those charged with governance is the accounting estimates. The estimates are an integral part of preparing the financials, and they are based on management judgment. In many cases, most of these estimates, especially the first three you see there, the district uses outside consultants. They use actuaries to help them in determining the appropriate assumptions. What we do is we have our own actuaries that are part of the firm who also do an independent review of the actuary report. They evaluate and determine whether or not those assumptions are reasonable, both for the district itself and based on the general industry. So we review the assumptions. We had no concerns over the assumptions with regard to other post-employment benefits. No concerns with regard to the district's self-insurance program. Also, the state of Florida retirement system, in which the district participates in. We also look at that report. That, again, an actuary works with the state to do that. But given that it's a significant liability for the school district, we do have our actuaries look at that report. And again, no issues or concerns there. You may remember several years ago, there was a problem with the discount rate, but no concerns this year. The other one to highlight, not as significant as the first three, but depreciation of capital assets, we always look at the useful lives to make sure that they're reasonable. Going to the next page, Joyce. Just to highlight again, GASB 84 was the big pronouncement this year. One of the benefits that did come, often GASB doesn't do a lot that's favorable to people, but one thing they did was they issued GASB 95 last year, and they deferred a lot of standards. So you'll see there's a bunch coming out now that'll be fiscal 22 and 23. Most important one, which we've already been in conversations with the district, is leases. They are changing, much like the for-profit world is, to where all leases will now be reported on the face of the financial statements for the district. So it is going to be a change in how they're treated and accounted for, and you're going to have either a right of use asset or right of use liability, basically, or well, deferred inflow that would have to be recorded. So that is going to take considerable time for the staff to work on. That's the biggest one. Those other standards, we don't expect those to have a material effect, but definitely 87 is going to be significant, and you will see some changes to the financials next year for that. On the next page, you'll see again a few more standards that were issued. The other one, again, could have potential impact, which it's similar to leases, is GASB 96, which is subscription-based information technology arrangements. That'll have to be evaluated. That doesn't come out till 23, but otherwise the rest we do not expect to have a significant impact on the district. Last thing in the slides, Joyce, if you can move back to the exhibit. Again, this just kind of highlights, going down a few more. Sorry, one more. This kind of highlights it and gives you a summary of what the district's accounting policy is and what we did to test that. Again, it's a twofold thing. One, we test the underlying data. So we test the census data, whether it's for OPEB or for the self-insurance, we test that underlying data. And then also we use our actuaries who both review the credentials of your actuaries as well as review the methodologies, and they speak with them and talk about key assumptions. Important thing to report to the committee. We had no concerns with any of that information. And again, we deemed it all to be reasonable and consistent with prior years. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions of the committee members?
No.
I actually had one. I noticed,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have the financial statements in front of me in the packet here, but I noticed in footnote 10, it talks about, because you're talking about estimates here, it was using the 2018 mortality table, not a newer one. And footnote 11 is using 2019. I don't know if that's a typo or if there's any reason why that was determined reasonable to use an older one, because I know they come out annually.
I'm just pulling up the footnote. Hold on.
Yeah, I think it was like page, I think I took a picture of my note, like page 65, I think, and 60, let's see.
Oh, what you're referring to is FD experience study, the window that they look
Yeah,
at.
the MP 2018 on 65 and 68, and then in footnote 11, they're using the 2019 one on page 71. So I don't know if that's just a typo or if they are using an older one. And I just didn't know if your actuaries kind of, because I know you mentioned that they looked at the assumptions. If it's a material,
This is the FRS.
Yeah.
So I believe we took it exactly from the FRS footnotes from their ACFR, which is 1 year behind.
Right. Which and that one again, the actual evaluation is done at the beginning of the fiscal year. The school district uses the 6/30/19 liability number for your financials. So everything is 1 year in arrears. So yes, this is information when you're looking at here, because you're using the 6/30/19 number to calculate your liability, would be basically as of 7/1/18. So that's
Okay.
why you're seeing that.
Yeah.
So it's because of the timing of the district's financials.
Compared, because we're relying on the state's information.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the state, and again, just the timing, because the state fiscal year that ends, is the year before. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve RSM's audit presentation, which will then go to the board.
Weigel, so move.
DeAndre, second.
Discussion? All in favor, all opposed, passed unanimously. Brett and Chantel, thank you so much for your presentation. And to Nancy Samuels and staff, congratulations on a clean audit. That's amazing that you can do that, but we're very proud of you. Okay, next we'll go to item 5, which is an update of the internal funds account. Terry?
Yes, one moment, please. Ms. Frederick would like to make a comment.
I just wanted to reiterate the hard work that the accounting department does every single year, not just the accounting department, but all departments within the district, working very closely with the external auditors. But I wanted to specifically recognize Nancy Samuels, the director, as well as her team, Karen Davies, Annette Pinnock, and Jason Elliott. They're the ones who are just really key in preparing this report. I mean, you've looked at it. It's very long. And so we appreciate them. You know, it is a lot of work each year. And to have a clean opinion and to not have any significant findings, I mean, that really is something to celebrate. So I just wanted to recognize the team.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, we have next the internal funds update, and I'll have Director Randy Law present that.
All right, Randy.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Talley. The internal funds audit for this year, we are progressing as scheduled. And then we presented for the status, we already completed almost 50% of all the schools as of last week. And we expect to complete all the school audits by the end of February, like what we did last year. So hopefully we will have the final reports to send to you guys in April. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve the internal funds audit.
Weigel, I so move.
Mark, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed unanimously. Okay, the next item, Joyce has sent you both of these investigative reports, so there's really nothing to go over on that. Do we have any general comments before we adjourn the meeting?
No, I just wanted to thank everybody for all of their hard work, all of the committee members. I know it takes a lot of time to come in here. You all have busy careers. We do appreciate it. All the staff, thank you for all the cooperation you give the audit committee and the IG's office, as well as finance and accounting. It takes a lot to put this all together, and people really don't realize all the work that goes into keeping all the bills paid and keeping everything moving. And we do appreciate it. And I hope everybody has a fantastic holiday and restful and safe.
Well, I join in saying thank you first for all of you that could attend today, and I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving and want you all to stay well. And our next scheduled meeting is going to be on Friday, December 17th. So in the meantime, again, have a happy holiday with your family, and thank you for your participation. And if there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion
Weigel,
to
I so
adjourn.
move.
Second.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Stay safe.
Thank you very much.
Bye.